Welcome back. Senator Marco Rubio, there's a lot going on the southern border, and most of it's not good. People are pouring into this country, and they're not just from Central and South America. They're from all over the world. They're from the Middle East. A lot of bad actors are crossing that border. Drug cartel types, MS-13 types, kidnappers, coyotes, in addition to people who want freedom. Little kids are being sent. There's some horrendous conditions down there. The president and the vice president won't go there to look at what their policies are doing. And yet they have announced, the Secretary of DHS, who I understand is of Cuban ancestry, he announced, don't come to the United States. We'll send the Coast Guard out there. We'll send you back. Now, these are shark-infested waters. I understand we don't want a flood of people coming into the United States, but they really do qualify for refugee status, as opposed to people who come into the United States because they don't like their economy, there's crime in their cities and so forth. What do you make of this?
Well, a couple things. Look, first of all, I don't believe anyone in Cuba, I don't suggest anyone in Cuba take to the sea, okay? It's not the right thing to do. I don't want them to do it. And we have to be aware that the regime in the past has used mass migration as a weapon. In '94 and during Mariel, they used it against the United States as a weapon, and that can't be tolerated. But you saw the forceful statement from Mayorkas, almost immediate. Where was that forceful statement when Joe Biden was running for president or when he became president? By the time they finally got around to saying it, which was what Kamala Harris did, it had no credibility. It almost was a joke. Because the reason why we're having a crisis at the southern border, look, it's true. These people in Central America live under very difficult conditions, have for a very long time. But these trafficking networks have gone into these countries and other places and told them, hey, there's a new president. He's going to be the opposite of Donald Trump in every way. Some of the first things that Biden does when he takes over, no more funding for the border wall. We're going to change policies if you arrive with children. These traffickers go back and tell people, hey, the laws have changed. There's a new president. You can now get into the United States, especially if you come with children. And guess what? That's what people are doing. They believe the laws have changed because the attitude has changed. It's this conception. And so that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a crush on the southern border that's a rotating catastrophe. It continues to escalate on a daily basis. And it was all caused by the rhetoric of Biden during the campaign and the actions he took in the first days of his administration. They didn't say what they said to the Cubans in those first days. What they said is no border wall, and children and families will not be separated. You'll be allowed to stay while we process your claims, and in the meantime, we'll release you into the population. That is an incentive. We are incentivizing. They are inviting people to come here illegally.
It's also a disaster. You're talking about potentially 2 million people a year. That's the size of the city of Philadelphia. We can't handle, we can't assimilate, localities can't deal with this, school systems, police forces, welfare systems. They're bringing people into the interior of the United States, not just on the border. They're dropping them off without telling governors and local communities what's going on. What is going on, Senator? What is in the mind of Joe Biden and his administration? Why are they doing this? Because this is an affirmative step.
Yeah, again, listen, it goes back to the point I made at the first segment, and that is there's an element, there's a very vibrant, important part of the Democratic base that raises money for them, knocks on doors. It's their activist base, both small dollar donor, some large dollar donor, and the activists that go out who don't believe in borders at all. I mean, their argument basically is if you show up here, you should be able to come in. I mean, there are people on the world that argue that there should be no borders, that people have the right to migrate wherever they want. No country in the world, not America, not China, no nation on the planet can absorb uncontrolled mass migration. You just can't do it. It's not possible. And by the way, it's terrible for these people. We are luring these people into the hands of some of the worst human beings, these traffickers, one of the worst human beings on the planet. They rape the women, they abuse the children, they abandon the sick people along the route, they sell them off, they hold them hostage until they pay the fee for bringing them over. It is a terrible situation entirely created by the incentives that the Biden administration has put in place by their words and by their actions.
And you know, Senator, we wring our hands about this. We try and talk to our fellow citizens about this. The media oppose our views. The Democrat Party oppose our views. These groups you talk about are activists for this agenda. The bureaucracy opposes our views. We're losing the argument over immigration. We're losing the argument over the border. We're losing the argument over citizenship. Unless we can take back the government, correct? There's not a lot we can do about this.
Well, I would say, Mark, I'm a little bit more optimistic simply because I think if you talk to people on a regular basis, I'm talking about normal, everyday people, not people that are glued to cable television all day or spend all day on Twitter, but actually go out and have jobs and are out there involved. I don't care how they're registered to vote. They all think this is lunacy. That's a majority position in this country. What's happening on the southern border is lunacy. And I think you're right. Look, if this was a Republican administration this was happening under, you would have bureaus. The major networks would actually establish bureaus on the border. You would have a live cam 24 hours a day. You know, they would have a clock on the bottom of the chyron and the screen talking about how many people came in today. They would, just like what they did when the children were being held in these processing centers. Okay, there would be all full-scale attention across the board, but now they barely want to talk about it. And when they do talk about it, it's to either A, criticize governors for sending, you know, local law enforcement to back up Texas, or B, to talk about how this is being exaggerated and there really isn't a crisis. It's unbelievable, but I think people see it for what it is. I really don't believe people are falling for it. But, you know, the left is oblivious to it because everybody agrees with them in the media that they think they're somehow holding the majority position in this country. They're not. And I think elections will tell that story.